All right. Well, Jamie, how does it look so far? Are we seeing the screen here? Or...
Yeah, I'm seeing the screen. I can see all this. I can see some people up here. Some folks have their cameras on. Um, and I can turn my camera on here. I've got the chat going. I don't know if I've just said feel free to ask any questions here. You guys can ask questions there if you want to raise your hand. Um, but I'm seeing what we got, on the screen here with the just the Q&A stuff. So, anybody
All
have
right.
any questions for us? Go ahead.
So how about this? The first question out there would be for me. Um, this is our building inspections home fair edition. There are other platforms available as far as if you have a site inspection or an electrical inspection. Um, I think a land use folks are here as well answering some of our questions. Um, so if you're in the right spot and you need a building inspection question answered, Jamie and I are here to answer anything you need.
Okay, so we got a question here from Meng Wang. Do you see that in the chat, Pat? Uh,
Not yet. Let's see. Okay.
if I add a sunroom without HVAC in the sunroom, do I still need to meet the insulation requirement? Can you use 2x4 studs and R15 wall insulation? You want to take that one, Pat?
Sure, I can take that. Yeah, so if it's conditioned space, which means if the room is heated or cooled, you will still need to address the R value in the wall. And if it's an existing home and you're using a 2x4 construction, you can go ahead and use R15 in the wall. If you're getting a permit for it, we would typically like to see it at a 2x6 and have you put in R21. Hopefully that answers your question.
Looks like we have a hand raised here, a couple folks. Do you guys, we're going to take Eric. Let's see if I can unmute.
Okay, hopefully this works.
Hey, first, good afternoon, Eric.
Hi, I appreciate you having this. It is at this point hard to get down to the actual building to chat with you guys in person. So this is nice to be able to do this.
Yeah,
Um,
great.
and I do have a question. I've got it's a 1890s house, and I've got on the gable ends it has the original shingles. And what I was gonna try and figure out is I'm looking at replacing those because I've tried repainting them and the paint won't stick anymore. But behind there is just slats, and I was wondering if I needed a permit to replace those with to put up sheeting instead, to put the so I'd have plywood on there instead of just the wood.
So I guess the first question is if you look up on our SDCI website, it'll go through some of the list of what's required for a permit. If you're just upgrading a small portion of the siding on the home, um, typically we wouldn't say that would meet or exceed the requirements for a permit, but there are always stipulations to that. If you're closer to the property line and all of a sudden that wall has to be protected, that ends up requiring a permit because we want to see some sort of protection on our wall if you're close enough to the property line. But typically, I think if it's under 5,000 or 6,000, Jamie. Do you know?
Yeah, 6,000.
Yeah, so
6,000.
if the work is under, $6,000, and that's typically what we would say would require a permit if it was over that for such a
Okay.
small amount of work, it sounds like.
Right. Yeah. It's just well, it's the gable end, so they're 12 feet by 12, 14 wide by 8 feet high or something. So
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not many of those little 1890s stick built, Victorians out there anymore. I have one in the Central District that's got similar kind of framing. It's an odd sort of balloon framing with like 5/4 planks, and not something you see every day. So
No, well, it's framed in 2x4. They're actually 2x4, so and they're pretty solid. But okay, well, that's easy. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Looks like we have another hand raised here.
Okay.
Alicio.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. So thanks again for organizing this. It's very useful, I think. And so my question is, we recently bought a house in 1950 house, and it needs some, let's say, remodeling. And we want to do, I think, just small stuff like replacing a windows with a French door and replacing a French door with a window, and then moving a door on a bearing wall inside the house. So my first question is, if I need a permit, and what kind of permit? So I hope that, and if I need to, let's say, already give you the name of the contractor that is going to do the work during the permit phase. So these are my main questions.
Yeah, so again, we would probably, well, at first, the biggest thing, the key one that I would kind of approach is that we're talking about a bearing wall. And when we're talking about the bearing wall and we're deciding to either expand that, open it up a little wider, it would be great to know, how that system is part of it. And so we probably would say, hey, why don't you guys go ahead and come on in, get a permit. Well, not come on in, but at least apply for a permit. And then that way we would have a little better understanding when we come out to do an inspection on the site, how that bearing is going to be changed all the way to the ground or to the foundation. And then, incorporating a couple other windows and things like that into the permit, it would be basically a subject to field inspection permit, probably nothing that would need to be under plan review, depending on the length of that opening. I think it's, Jamie, quote me on this, is it 14 feet now or is it a little wider now?
It's 14 feet is still the limit. So you can,
Okay.
subject to field inspection, you can do beam spans up to 14 feet.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
And so it sounds like, you would qualify for that subject to field inspection permit.
Okay.
And that's usually a pretty quick.
Yeah, so I was hoping to, for that. And then my question is, so it seems that the application is not so time consuming, I would say. So I can basically submit my application in a week or two, let's say. But then I still need to figure out which contractor is going to do the job. But first I want to see if I want to have the permit to do that. So do I need to spell out the name of the contractors, or can it just be, okay, I have the permit, then I can interview contractors and pick the best one?
Correct. Yeah, you can do that process where you're basically you're acting as the owner and the contractor at the initial part, and then when you decide to hire a contractor who's going to be licensed and bonded in the state of Washington, right? I think that's the most important thing that we're looking for when you guys hire a contractor out there. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, and I have another question. So let's see that, so because I had quite experience in doing some renovation inside the home. I did that in Italy, my previous country. So if I want to do something myself, can I do that?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. If you can, remodel the project on your own and you feel like it's something that you can tackle, we don't, you don't, if you're doing the work for yourself, you don't have to be a licensed and bonded contractor. So, homeowners, we see that all the time where homeowners are tackling projects like, remodeling a basement, things like that. So yeah, you're well within your reach, it sounds like, if you're more than capable of doing the work. And
Yeah,
then,
I think so now. I need to, yeah.
And when we have, when we have inspections for the project, all of the building inspectors that we have are well versed at construction. And so if you needed an advisory to get some advice on how to do things, they sure can help. So.
Okay, great. That's really, really helpful. And yeah, great. So thank you very much. I think you answered my main question. Maybe I will have some other question later on, but yeah, I think you answered my main question. Thank you very much.
Okay, great.
So, hey, just one thing I'd like to just advise you on the Department of Labor and Industries manages or sort of runs the licensing for contractors, and they have a resource on there where you can look up your contractor and see that somebody's licensed with the state, and see also if they have any any pending litigation, or people have gone after their bond or anything like that. So just in your research in hiring a contractor, I'd encourage you to look at the Department of Labor and Industries regarding hiring a contractor, just to protect yourself and know what your rights are as a consumer.
Okay, can you share the link on the chat so I can copy it?
Yeah, let me see. I'll put something up there for you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, great point, Jamie. Thank you.
Okay, looks like I'm just going to add it right now.
Oh.
So there's a hot link there to the contractors, hiring a contractor. They've got some, Labor and Industries has some good resources regarding that. And, just knowing your rights as a consumer in the state, when it's expensive doing construction on houses, and most people, this is the largest investment that they've got. So I would really just recommend that you do your research, look into folks, and make sure that you're protected contractually when doing the work. So.
All right. Well, do we see any other hands or questions come through? So just again, since we have kind of a lull in the action, this is our building inspections home fair edition. Jamie and I both worked as building inspectors for the city of Seattle. We perform inspections on a daily basis, and we're here to offer any assistance on your questions that you have. If anybody's having any difficulties with operating our WebEx system, if you scroll up to the top of the screen and you hit your participants, you can raise your hand, and then from that, Jamie can figure out whether or not we can have you talk through the audio feature, or if you can just respond in the chat.
So, Pat, can you tell me about any exciting inspections you've had lately?
Oh, let's see. Well, I think both you and I, Jamie, we've both been to the new Climate Pledge Arena not too long ago. That's some pretty exciting stuff going on over there.
Yeah, that's exciting. It's I was just out there on Friday, and they're starting to come along. They've got the lower seating on the east side all in. It's all precast concrete, and we've been giving them some cover inspections on areas that we can, and it's really starting to come together out there.
Yeah, it looks great. It looks great. I heard that.
It looks like
we have a question.
We have a question.
All right.
Okay, yeah, I have another question. So we have a ramp of stairs in the home that I'm not sure if it's up to code. So maybe the run is only 9 inches. And so we would like to make it 10 and maybe push it a little bit of 2 feet, let's say, farther down the line. And to my understanding, there are no bearing wall or nothing that is going to be touched. And I was wondering if also that one is okay, just to ask the STIF, the work by inspection permit, or not, to replace the stairs and make it up to code and maybe push it to 2 feet? Because now they land just in front of a wall, and I don't want to land in front of a wall.
And I apologize. I missed the first part of that question.
So, yeah.
I heard some of it.
Okay, Jamie, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, regarding the stairs, if they're existing and they were permitted stairs originally with the house, we aren't going to require you to make any sort of corrections to them. Lately, some of the most where we kind of sit as a department with the stairs is that in old houses it can become quite difficult to bring stairs up to the current code, and you're not. The only time that we would want to see that happen would be if you were like adding an additional story to the house, or if you're creating new habitable space, then we'd want you to try to get those stairs up to code. But typically in these old houses, it's going to be quite difficult, and we kind of recognize that as a department. Those stair changes are certainly something that can happen under a subject to field inspection permit. There's some good information out there. There is a visual, the Stair Manufacturers Association has a guide on a visual interpretation of the stair code, and it's really quite helpful. It gives you, they've got some free ones that you can look up. I'll put a link in here for that.
Yeah, thank you.
And so that, I think the most recent is like the 2006 or maybe 2009. You can pay for them, but they do have some free information on those. But it really kind of spells out what the requirements are for stairs, and they're really, really quite helpful.
Yeah.
Did I answer your question?
I have a follow-up, because basically you got the point. So in the next couple of years, we want to add some space upstairs. So now there is space. There is an attic basically with rooms, so with bedrooms, but we want to expand that. And so since we are remodeling a little bit now the first floor, and the stairs, I think they're gonna be placed up to code for in the next couple of years. So since we are here, okay, let's try to see if we can put up to code the stairs right now. So, or at least push it a little bit, because now basically they land in front of a wall, and it's not. Yeah, so we want to push it because it's not nice to land in front of a wall, basically. So even if now they are allowed to stay there, so since we're going to remodel in 2 years, we're going to do a big project upstairs. If it's possible to include also the stairs in the permit, so in the walk-in field inspection permit, so that would be basically my question. So if that is possible, that would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be possible, and I think that there's with these old houses and changing codes, we have some flexibility in what's allowed, and what's going to work, right? And sometimes it's just not going to be feasible to make those stairs work, right? And everybody's entitled to a little bit of relief from the code, and that's going to be based on those conditions. I think that would fall under it. If we answered your question, we've got another question from Meg in the chat. Do you see that one, Pat?
Let's see. Yeah. So it looks like to remove siding or interior walls installed before 1978, do I have to do a lead test? If lead exists, do I have to hire a licensed contractor to do the work?
Are you familiar with the lead? Have you done the lead safe renovation trainings, Pat? Are you familiar with? I have
not done the lead safe. I know that there's an abatement program that they have to follow from Washington State guidelines, but have you done that, Jamie?
Yeah, I did that back when I was in the general contractors. This was probably like the rules really kind of changed with lead as far as renovation, probably 10 years ago. Maybe it was, I think that's right around when stuff changed. And so basically pre-78, you have to assume that there's lead in stuff, and either do your renovation in a lead safe manner, or you can have it tested and have your paint tested, and basically do a survey of your building materials and have them tested and determine if there's lead in them. And if they do that, then you can proceed. You don't need to take the additional procedures, right? If lead exists, you do not have to hire a licensed contractor to do that work. You can perform that work yourself. And so the lead work really is about, it's protecting owners, from contractors. It's about protecting children. Um, uh, lead safe. I think if you search up lead safe renovation, you'll probably see some information on that. What those requirements are for that. But it's really about keeping stuff clean, not kicking up any dust, no
Is
sanding,
there, hey Jamie,
grinding.
is there a way that you can actually encapsulate that? So if there's somebody wanted to paint over it, is
Oh,
that
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
acceptable?
Absolutely, absolutely. You can just leave it and not disturb it. If you're not disturbing
Yeah.
it, then it's not a problem.
Hmm.
So the with the lead, it's really it's about the disturbing it. So either you know one way folks used to strip houses with heat guns, right, or with torches, and that is really bad because the lead will the vapors will get out. Or if you're sanding or grinding, that's another activity that is
And
it's going to kick up small fun.
no pressure washing either, right?
No pressure washer either, right? So yeah, lead's a real problem in old buildings, unfortunately. Um, so it looks like we have Keith has his hand raised.
Oh, okay.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Good afternoon, Keith.
Good morning, or good afternoon, I guess. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you great.
Great, okay. Thanks for putting this on. I have an old house with a root cellar in the basement, and I was thinking about insulating it. Do I need a permit to do that?
Well, I guess the question is if you're just insulating it for your own regard, it wouldn't qualify for that probably that $6,000 threshold that we have.
Okay,
If it's just something that you wanted to do on your own, no, we wouldn't need a permit for that.
okay, great. And
Yeah,
if
but
one of
if you
the, oh,
oh, go
sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead.
If one of the walls in that root cellar, like I can see the sill plate basically is a little bit rotten. Can I replace that wall? It's non-load bearing. Do I need a permit to replace that wall?
Again, you wouldn't necessarily need a permit if you started to say put items in that wall. So let's just say you had electrical that you decided to run or put things like that. That's when it would trigger a little bit more search. I guess would be from our department, and you'd probably
Okay.
have to get electrical permit for that. It may not still qualify to even get a building permit or an SCFI, but as
Okay.
always, if you want all these things documented, it's always not a bad idea if you're
Right.
going to improve your home to come out and get a permit,
Okay.
because that way it's documented that you did the work.
Okay. In that wall, I actually do have electrical. It was put in when I had the old basement and the whole house rewired.
Hmm.
Since that wall was there, they were able to put electrical in there, so it's all permitted and everything.
Yeah, if it's already
Okay.
been permitted and you want to just put some insulation in it, like I say, it's not a problem.
Cool. Okay. Great. I have a couple other questions too, if you don't mind.
Sure, if as long as we don't have anybody else with their hands raised, it looks like you've got the
Okay, great. Do I need a permit to put skylights in an unfinished attic?
skylights in an unfinished attic. Um, uh, no, you technically wouldn't
Okay.
you wouldn't need to. Um, eh, but I guess it kind of also depends. If you plan to, cut trusses back, and there's different ways you could put in a skylight. You could, if somebody was going to cut a roof member or a roof rafter out of the way or a roof truss, then yeah, we would probably suggest if you're messing with the structural integrity, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have somebody come out, take a look, and get a
Okay.
permit for something like that.
Okay.
But if you're just installing one skylight into an unfinished attic, like I say, I don't think that would qualify for the threshold of getting
Okay.
a permit.
And currently, I don't have a stairway up to the attic. I would like to put a stairway up there. How does the permitting process go for that? Can I do it subject to field inspection for that? And what are the steps involved? Do I frame the stringers, carriages first, have a permit, or have an inspector come out and then finish them, and then have a final inspection?
Your first would be for something like that, come and get a permit. Have a drawing to figure out how you're going to do that. Are you going
Okay.
to be cutting members of the roof out or the ceiling out? How large that, having a description of how large the stairs are going to be, the number of steps that are involved in that process. So yeah, that would be your first initial, just so you have that permit and you can do the work. And at that point, once you have the permit, start your work. And if you needed an advisory inspection to discuss some of those details on how to frame it in exactly what a city inspector would look for. Typically, if you're going to be cutting out a ceiling of some kind, there would probably be extra support that we would have to go in. And that's one of the things that we would be kind of focusing on when we came out to look at that.
And if I submit those drawings, can I submit those myself, or do I have to have an architectural signature or stamp or
No,
anything like that?
you could submit those yourself.
Okay.
Jamie, you had a comment you wanted to add?
Yeah, the stairs to the attic, kind of it can end up pushing some of your boundaries. I mean, I think that like creating habitable space over, creating habitable space in an attic, can be one of the things that kicks you out of the subject field inspection
Okay.
permit, depending on the size, right?
Yeah,
So that could be one flag on it, right?
And what if
They haven't opened up second story additions to over the counter permits yet, right? And so there's some area limitations, there's other stuff. So
I'm
my-
sorry to interrupt, but if I was
I would, if you're gonna be taking over and moving into that second story or trying to create an additional story, I'd encourage you to, that process is going to be more involved permitting, and an architect and an engineer need to be involved in that, right?
And if I was to plan to make it a habitable space later on, I could build the stairs initially first, probably with a subject to field inspection, and then I could worry about the other permit for making the attic a habitable space later on.
Um, you're pushed up against some of my pet peeves. I think I got pet peeves about that approach. So I'm gonna mum for me.
Yeah, I mean like you say, that was going to be, so we're on the inspection side, right? We're going to go out and look at the inspection process of it. That sounds almost like a permitting where we're getting into that. Will this qualify for an SCFI, or will this need to be a plan review? That's something that I think our permit staff would probably be better to answer than us. I could tell you how to build it, and I could sure as heck inspect it when it is built.
Yeah.
But whether or not it qualifies for an SCFI or needed a plan review, that's going to be permitting.
Okay, great.
I'll send a link. I'll put a link for this STFI kit. Yeah.
I'm just taking a step-by-step approach. I'm doing it all myself, so it takes a long time.
Sure. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, I would ask that question to our permitting staff. They'd have a better, a sense of what you could do and how far you could go with that.
Great. Thank you.
So, all right. Okay. Well, if you're just joining us, this is our building inspections home fair edition. We go from 1 to 3 today. Our host and co-host here is my name is Patrick Bolio. I work for the city of Seattle. I'm a building inspector. Jamie, if you want to introduce yourself. Oh, Jamie's busy. Maybe he's looking up that tip.
Oh yeah, no, it didn't come as a hot link. I'll resend that as a hot link, but I'm just trying to send a tip here for subject to field inspection permits, which is basically our over-the-counter permit and what the criteria is for that. So let's try this again. There we go. That took. So Jamie Fackler here, City of Seattle building inspector. I'm down in South Lake Union, so I got the Space Needle in my district and the Climate Pledge Arena and half of Amazon, I think. Pat used to be in that district, but now
it's a busy area.
It is
exciting.
Busy
yeah, there's a lot of good builds going on down there between the Google, Amazon, Facebook, I think, is down there.
Lots of biotech still. Lots of biotech down there.
That's right. So if you guys have any questions, if you have a building inspection question, we're here to hopefully answer it for you.
If no one else is going to ask any questions, I'm sorry, I have one more question.
Go ahead.
It's regarding insulation. So back to the insulation in a basement. Currently, I have it's a dimpled membrane on the wall, and it looks like there are a couple different options for insulating. You can add a 1-inch XPS foam, then put in like 2x4 stud wall, and then fill those cavities with rock wool. And then another option was to use like a 2x6 wall without XPS foam, and then fill that with rock wool as well. Are there any benefits to either one of those? Do you have to worry about any kind of moisture or anything like that?
Well, I was gonna say, since you are below grade, you kind of have to worry about that, you know.
Yeah.
And I would tend to go with, you know, the rigid foam or the rock wool. Both of those are, you know, sort of inorganic. They don't have a tendency to mold as much as the fiberglass insulation does if you don't have proper circulation down there or have any heavy type of water that's coming in from the concrete wall surface. So that's what I would tend to use in those locations. But it almost sounds like, you know, when you talked to us originally, it sounded like a small portion, but now you're framing in some studs around the perimeter. And so, you know, that type of work, if you do something like that, where you're going to enclose that basement cavity and have insulation all the way around, that would be important to get a permit on that.
Okay.
Yeah, that could, because at that point it sounds like you're going to be turned into a little bit more of a heated space, and then too, we have to worry about our draft stopping conditions and things like that. Fire stopping.
That was my other question as well. How do you go about, and where do you go about fire blocking if you're using that XPS foam?
So the rule of thumb is always 10 and 10. So 10 at the vertical, 10 at the horizontal.
Okay.
We want to compartmentalize it to 100 square feet. That's the rule of thumb. So if your walls are 8 foot, we'll expect to see a draft stop or fire block at the top of the wall so that it doesn't go into the floor assembly. And then the same would apply to the side of the wall, where anything that goes over 10 feet, we would want to start seeing those areas plugged up so that your draft was contained into 100 square foot area.
Okay. And that can be what kind of material?
So you have a lot of different options. You could use sheetrock. You can use a spray foam depending on how wide your gaps are. You know, all those things work fine. There's lots of different items that you can use for draft stopping and fire blocking. You know, plywood works fine too.
Okay, great.
Hello, Jimmy and Pat. How are you both doing today?
This voice sounds familiar.
Hey, Jatinder, how are you?
How are you doing, Jatinder?
Pretty good. Oh, good to hear. I apologize. I chimed in kind of just 5-7 minutes ago.
Oh.
I don't know why. For some reason, I was thinking it is from 2 to 3.
Yeah, I had to hightail it back home, and I looked at the clock. I was like, "Oh snap! 1 o'clock's coming."
Okay.
I was curious if I was going to be co-host and host today.
Okay.
It looks like Eric Baker had a question. Did you have a question, Eric?
All right.
Actually, yeah, I did. I wasn't sure. I have in the attic. I had the squirrel take up a home, and he decided that he really liked one of the rafters and chewed a fair bit of one of them. And I've been trying to get information. It would be a little tricky to replace, or not to replace, but to sister an entire rafter, just because of the position and access and that kind of stuff. And I couldn't figure out. I mean, I want to make it so that it holds up, but I can't really get I haven't got a good source for what would be sufficient. The rafters themselves are old growth 2x4, so they're not that huge.
So you're the best thing about the code, you are allowed to notch certain material, a ceiling rafter or a stud. You have different, parameters around what you can notch and what's allowed to be notched. So if did you say it was a squirrel?
Yeah,
That
yeah, he ate
so
about a foot of it, and so there's
oh,
there's about maybe a 2x2 left that
hmm.
he decided wasn't tasty before I kicked him out.
Okay. Well, I mean, that type of fix, I wouldn't you'd think it would require any type of engineering, but you could definitely, if you can find some way to sister on a piece 4 foot back from each side of that location, or a heavy strap that might help sister those two together as well. A lot of different options, without without seeing, the roof that you're trying to describe. It would be tough to accurately, I guess, address that. But you can definitely, if you needed to I guess, scab on a piece to each end, and somehow screw that 2x4 in place. That would be probably your best fix, I guess.
Okay, so I don't have to go full length because it was right at the ceiling level, I guess. It went from the bottom end of the rafter.
Yeah, if it's not, if it's just your ceiling support, it's, the load on a ceiling rafter isn't really that much. So if you were able to scab on a piece 4 foot each direction, I think you would be fine. If it was a roof rafter where you had, possible snow loads, or just
Yeah,
the
it
weight
is.
of the roof itself, you might have to sister a little bit longer piece on there. But it sounds like, from what I'm hearing, you could
Well,
probably just sister something on each direction about 4 feet.
well, it is the roof rafter, so
So it
it's
does
going.
have some snow, or some load value, if you will.
Probably, although it looks like the rest of the roof it's been that way for a couple years apparently. So
Uh-huh. Is it
nothing's
sagging?
falling
Is
in
it
there.
sagging at all, or
No,
no?
so it's probably supported by whatever else is around it.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Like I say, I
but
I'm not an engineer, and I don't necessarily design fix anything,
okay,
but you are allowed some tolerances when it comes to scabbing on material, and I wish there was a better term we could be using.
yeah,
Just or
sistering, yeah.
sistering. There we go. Sistering on material to kind of support that.
Oh, okay, but there's no requirement for
Jamie, do you
necessarily.
know of any specific
Okay.
requirement that we could kick to in the building code on sistering? I know that we have some, when it comes to our floor diaphragms, and what we can toenail and what we can nail on as a sister board.
Yeah, I'd want to say like a couple feet in either direction is kind of typical
Mhm.
from what I remember framing for, depending. I mean, if it's, you can there's got to be something in there, but it's tough. I mean, a lot of times those rafters get once they, well, the tails, like the rafters tails, once they hit the top of the wall plate, there's quite a lot that can happen.
Mhm.
If you got a couple feet in either direction in there, I think you'd be fine. There's a lot of that sistering is going to rely on what those fasteners are that are attaching to it, because that's how you're now transferring that. You're using those fasteners to then transfer that load to another member, right? Partially, right?
Right.
So depending on what kind of fasteners you use, could determine the length of material that you got, depending on what it could do, right? So if you did some like structural screws, some like SDS screws, and just a little bit of lumber to kind of pick it up at the end, you're probably going to be fine. I mean, you may even be able to just come in some add a block below, where it's been notched out, and pick it up directly, right? If it was notched out right at the top plate, you might be able to pick up that load directly, and then just bolster that connection with a piece of plywood, right? That might be sufficient. A lot of these old houses, it's funny that you talk about this old Victorian with the balloon framing and the rodents that move in. We had a squirrel that like had its buddies over too, right? They had like a whole squirrel party in our attic, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm up there in the attic, and I'm feeling like Bill Murray and Caddyshack up there, right? So I feel your pain with Seattle's choice of street trees and you know, so,
Yeah.
And the squirrel population. There's some pretty big
right?
ones that I've seen
Yeah,
out there.
they're monster. They're monster. Hard to get rid of.
Yeah. Yeah, that's been the hard part is, and everything's wood, so they just chew right through it. So yeah. Anyway, well, it sounds like I have a pretty good idea of what I can do. I just didn't want to try to do something, find out it was only halfway to where I was supposed to be, but I
Hmm.
could get some lumber up there and bolt it together. That'd probably be more than sufficient, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So awesome. Thank you.
Okay, you bet. All right.
Hey, Jamie, you might want to give a little bit of idea to all the members of the community out there regarding upcoming May month, Building Safety Month, if you want to. I know you are
Oh.
one of the planners on that effort.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. May's Building Safety Month. The ICC, International Code Council, um, is the body that helps write the code and prints the code and that's the code that Seattle and Washington State adopt and most jurisdictions adopt. They're having a building safety month coming up in May, and so we'll likely do some events. We did some events last year that was some virtual stuff. And I think I'm not sure what's planned yet, but I imagine that we're going to be doing some virtual stuff, just given the state of the world.
Yep.
And so it's stay tuned for that. You can check our website for that, and we'll likely do some stuff. Hopefully, it's nice to be able to. I know that it's been difficult for us to connect with you guys in person, at least at our applicant service center being shut down and other stuff. So it's I hope today is useful for you guys, and I hope that we could expand some of our virtual offerings. So definitely we'll do something regarding Building Safety Month. So it looks like we got another question from in
Okay.
chat. Do you see that one, Pat, there?
Oh yeah, so the question is, do I need a permit to remodel my bathroom? Question mark. I am going to move a shower of 6 feet. So it's great question. Typically, when we're doing plumbing like that and we're remodeling a bathroom, we usually say if you're going to be opening up some walls and moving plumbing devices around, it's probably best to get a building permit. Depending on, again, it all depends on the extent of the bathroom remodel. But if you're going to be opening up walls, potentially moving bearing walls, it would be a great idea to come in and get a permit.
Hey, Pat, could you talk about maybe what other permits might be required in a bathroom remodel?
So in a bathroom remodel, you would also have your King County plumbing would require a permit. You'd more than likely would need to have an electrical permit, depending on what goes into that bathroom. Since you're going to be upgrading the cabinets, there's going to be probably some GFIs that are going to be required. I'm not an electrical inspector, but it sounds like when we're doing those type of remodels in the bathroom, that's usually what we're doing, is we're also upgrading some of the electrical services. So those are the two that you'd probably need to get for sure, and then the building permit would also probably something on top of that.
Hey, Pat, let me just throw a little bit of odd situation dealing with the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do if there is not like center line of the water closet versus the wall, or the, the sink on the other side with the mirror? If there are space limitation or maybe the height limitation. So,
Yeah.
so what is the process for people to follow through on those scenarios?
Yeah, so you have guidelines as far as your water closet, your minimum length, your minimum widths, things like that. The toilet area, you're required to have 30 inches in between of space in between, and I think it's a minimum of 24 in front of it, and that same thing would be for the sink as well. I think the shower, and we'll have that as well. I think we have in our code book, we have really some good illustrations. And maybe Jamie, if you're on top of it, you could find that and maybe post a link to some of those requirements that are the requirements for basically bathroom frontage.
No,
A lot of that too, the plumbing inspector, when they go in for the rough in, they're going to be looking at those as well. Just to let, if somebody, had a question about that too, they're going to make sure those clearances are looked at as well.
yeah, but Pat, my question was, is there any administrative relief process that exists if
Oh,
somebody, yeah, that's
so if didn't have enough clearance, is that what you're asking, Jatinder? If the clearances weren't
temporary.
allow if okay, so if it's an existing condition, we're probably, and you decide to remodel and there's a hardship and you can't move that plumbing fixture because that was already where it was kind of at, and it would be too hard to move, we're going to probably just have to just let that go. But typically, if there's a remodel involved, a lot of times they're going to be, tearing up the floor, tearing up joists, and so moving those things around, we would expect them to meet code. But there are cases where we'd have to just say, nah, it's too much of a hardship. We can't ask you to move that plumbing device an inch or two because it just doesn't make sense.
Pat.
I see we have another chat question. Let's see if I can scroll down to it. So the question is, to pour concrete foundation, is it okay to schedule 2 or more foundation inspections because I want to pour the living area first, then pour the garage area? When pouring the living area, the concrete truck needs to park in the garage area. Yeah, there's always ways that, different ways to pour the concrete foundation. If you need to pour it in sections, that's something that we definitely do. Sometimes, especially in these houses where we're picking them up, and they're pouring a new foundation or parts of a new foundation, we do what's called a phase. So the building inspector will come in and they'll say, okay, to pour the first phase. And usually there's rebar that's stubbed out or rebar that's epoxied in after the fact. So it's definitely something that's possible if you needed to pour it in several phases. Sorry, I had to mute someone. Hopefully that answers your question. And that question looks like it's from Meng. Hopefully I pronounced that name correctly.
Looks like we got another question, another hand raised here. Let's see.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. Just to follow up the bathroom remodeling question of a few minutes ago. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that we need a building permit. So I want to follow up a little bit. So we are not gonna open nothing on bearing walls. We're gonna open, yes, a new door, but it's not a bearing wall. And the shower will be, yes, moved maybe 6 feet, maybe 4 feet. I'm not very much sure about that yet. So so for building permit, you mean subject to field inspection permit? Or
correct, yeah, and
okay,
a lot of times, and a lot of those instances, it really depends, and so you have to go through the checklist that we have for the subject of field, and if it qualifies for that, then yeah, we could issue it in the subject of field. But if it doesn't even qualify for a permit because most of the work is less than the required $6,000 amount, and once again, we're not messing with any type of bearing situation. We're not not moving a lot of interior walls. And so it really depends. And so, if the project's over 6, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to at least reach out to the building department to see, here's what explain what you're doing, and say, okay, whether or not that's something that we don't have to come out and inspect. If you're just moving cabinets and doors and refinishing floors, those aren't inspections that we do. We won't inspect that kind of stuff. So
Okay, perfect. And the other thing is for the plumbing permit. So we're gonna move, the shower of 3 feet, 4 feet. And I need still to figure out exactly how much. And I'm assuming that I need to move the water
So
because
if this and how do you pronounce your name?
Alessio.
Alicio. So
Yeah.
you've asked 3 questions already about about remodeling your project.
Yes.
It sounds like you're doing quite a bit of work.
Yes, but yes.
So I would suggest you'll probably need a permit for the amount of work that you're doing for the things that you're trying to accomplish.
Okay.
Just so you know, I mean, like I say, between the bathroom remodel that you're going to need to do, I think you were moving some bearing walls inside the house, and then you were talking about some stairs at some point. I think, between all of those, that even may have to go into like a plan review possibly. But if they were just those small scopes that you're talking about, you still need to come in and get a permit. It would just probably be a subject to field inspection permit.
Okay, perfect. I think you answered the question. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
All right.
Hey, Pat, have we mentioned? I thought there is a tip also that is out there on our website that could be referred to regarding all these stiffy permits. And
Yes.
okay, and then there is another do you want to kind of give them 1 or 2 examples where folks may feel that, oh, it's a stiffy permit, but in reality, if they are doing structural changes of that sort, that may warrant a plan review process to be followed. I know we had a recent encounter, but just it'll be good for people to kind of give them a threshold where they get into a plan review process rather than just stiffy needs.
Right. And no, that's a good point. So typically we do have that tips subject to field inspection permit requirements. You have to meet all of the requirements of the checklist that we have in order to receive a subject to field inspection permit. If you don't meet all of the requirements, if you don't meet all those requirements of the checklist, and Jamie, maybe you could send a link to that subject to field inspection checklist. So if you don't meet those requirements, we're going to ask that you apply for a plan review. Some of the things that are immediately will kick right into plan review is if you have bearing walls or beams that span over 14 feet, or if you are messing with or trying to remodel and end up getting into some of the shear wall systems of the building. So if you're doing a remodel and all of a sudden you find that you have plywood behind the wall, and if it's an interior wall, that could be an interior shear wall. Once you start to get into those situations, you would probably need a plan review permit if you're going to be moving any of interior shear walls. Even your exterior, if you're opening up the outside of a home and you're deciding to add bigger windows or get bigger doors, and you end up now going into those larger shear wall panels, we'll probably have to have a reviewer take a look at that and do a structural plan review on some of those instances as well. I know lately we've ran into where commercial remodels have come into play where they're getting these subject to field inspection permits, and they can be tricky when you start to open up walls and discover that some of those walls that you're trying to move, 1, are bearing, and then 2, they are a shear wall. Jamie, if you're able, do you think you could share that subject to field permit tip?
Yeah, I've already shared it. I'm going to see
Oh,
if I
okay.
can just post it. I'm just going to see if I can share it here. Let's see. Oh, yeah, you'd have to stop sharing for me to do
Oh,
it. But it's
okay.
it's listed there. It's the if you go to the chat, the STFI tip. If you want to try that, Pat, clicking on it. It's in the chat. DPD/publications/CAM 316.
Okay, mine I can't do that with. I've got too many screens that have me.
Yeah, let me try. I'll try sharing and see what
Okay,
see what
because
happens
should
here.
be able
Okay.
to share because I've got a lot of stuff going on mine.
Oh,
There you go.
there we go. We see this here, sharing on the whiteboard.
There it
Okay.
is.
All right, here we go. So we've got a. This is available to print off. There's you can do a search on our website or just do a Google search SDCI or tips. There's a lot of great info in there. That all sorts of different tips. So this one's about subject to field inspection permits. What's allowed. Projects that qualify: demolition, foundation repair, and replacement, as long as it's not exceeding 4 feet from the bottom of the footing to the top of the wall. That's a critical one there. Structural alterations to existing single family and duplexes. Talks about some limitations there about what's allowed. And then kind of some other stuff here. And then let's go down here to, they should have something about what's not allowed. Or there used to be. Projects that do not qualify for an STFI. So obviously the establishing use of anything, like you couldn't build a new house under subject to field inspection. You can do a new garage subject to field inspection, but not a new house. So let's look at this. So this can be helpful because this can kind of really change what our criteria is here. So second story and 2-story dwelling additions on a single family residence. So you can do ground floor additions, but not second story additions. Dormer additions, creating a new second floor for habitable living space. So if you're going to add a dormer in your attic and put some new stairs up there, well, that's not going to meet the STFI criteria. If you're going to have an addition to your single family house in excess of 750 square feet, that's not going to qualify for STFI, partly because that's going to need that would need a drainage review. That's kind of a critical number for our stormwater code, is that 750 square feet. Detached accessory structures in excess of 750 square feet, again, need that review, that drainage review. Change of use of occupancy group or change in character to occupy. So this is really going to deal with more building code stuff. So that would be if you were going to start after COVID, you're going to start a CrossFit studio in an old automotive shop. Well, that kind of body work isn't the same kind of body work as there's in the code. so that wouldn't qualify. That needs plan review. Exterior alterations and additions of any kind to commercial and multifamily structures. So if you're doing that's again, so this list really talks about what's not allowed under STFI. So if you tick any of these boxes, that's going to be your work scope. That's going to need plan review, right? Sometimes you're able to obtain multiple permits for a project and refine and compartmentalize what the scope is to make that work, and that's something that we see happen from time to time.
But that's a good that right there is a good resource for everybody that has questions about what qualifies, what doesn't. I think that's a great resource.
Yeah, and then let's see here. I had something else up. No. No, not that one.
Hey, Jamie, do you also want to share the CCAB, web page or the link, and just give people an idea about new codes being, coming into effect March 15th, I believe?
Yeah, there are new. Yeah, there'll be new building codes. Well, I've got this one up here. Let me just touch on this. We'll hit this one next, if you don't mind here. This, you guys, everybody see this? This talks about what fire blocking is and what those if some of those folks are still on here. This is section. This is out of the Seattle Residential Code, the 2015, which is if you applied for a permit today, you'd be under this code. And as Jatinder mentioned, the code's going to be changing, and that's we're finally going to adopt, even though it's 2021, we're about to adopt the 2018 building code, and that's going to be March 15th. So there will be some stuff that changes, but not related to this. I don't think there's any changes in here. So this talks about what your approved fire blocking materials are. And then you've also got draft stopping in here talking about that. So, and this is, I think, in floors, I think. So, let's see here. Let me stop sharing. I'm going to pass this over to Pat for a second while I dig into some other info here.
All right. Well, do we have any other questions? Just to introduce ourselves again, it's been a while. I'm Patrick Bollier with the City of Seattle. I'm a building inspector for the city. Jamie and I go out and perform inspections throughout the city. If you have any questions about a job that you have permitted now or something that's upcoming, now is the time. You can ask us. Hopefully we can answer that. The co-host is Jamie Fackler. He's kind of the research guru, so we're able to share some of the links that can help folks gather some information as well. Just a question to everybody: Has anybody visited the other home fairs that are going on right now? I think we have the electrical inspectors that are doing a home fair Q&A. Our site inspection team is doing a Q&A. I think our land use is doing a home fair, and so is code compliance. Anybody visited those video chats yet?
I think the electrical and site related and soil and erosion control, they were in the morning session.
So they already happened. Okay.
They already happened. I think this one, it is building inspections, and I think land use and permitting, and then third is probably rental housing or something. There are three venues this afternoon, I believe.
But did anybody visit those other ones earlier today? Oh, I see a chat. Soil erosion, and last weekend I did earthquake retrofit and landslide. Oh, great. Hopefully that was very helpful. All right, looks like Jamie has a couple more things to share for the 2018 adopted residential code, building code. By the way,
Yeah, I changed my screen and now I can't unmute myself.
Well, as the host, once you start to share something, it's tough to find.
I get a different toolbar. I'm like, wait, what? I can't. So this is, I know that this is the code change has been kind of long delayed, and there was talk about pushing it out even further than this March adoption, and so we do have new code changes coming March 15th, and Jatinder had mentioned a page, and I'm not sure if this is the page that he was talking about, where I know that stuff's going to be changing, and I have you been following it, Pat? Do you know if there's a better page than this one as far as that we've got?
Not that I know of. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jamie, I think what you shared gives a pretty good idea about what's going on.
Right.
And we are just saying, as a proactive statement, like a change is coming in terms of the adopted edition. And I
Mhm.
think there is a 1 month time period that people could try both, but then there is a cutoff date. After that, they don't allow the older code. You have to go with the new code, something to that effect.
Hey, by the
Right.
way, Jatinder, if you wouldn't mind, could you introduce yourself to the folks here?
Good afternoon, everyone. I am inspections, director for STCI, and I'm just trying to pick up my team members' mind. I think for the useful information that could be good for our community members.
Great,
And
great.
and by the way, Jamie and Pat, they are doing awesome in this interaction.
That's good to hear. All right.
Yes, yes. Well, I wanted to let everybody know, who you were and who you were with. You have a lot of information to share and good question to ask. So, I thought it would be helpful to find out who you were.
Hey, so I'd like to just real quick. I want to talk about kind of some stuff regarding COVID. If you do get inspections during COVID, kind of what the first sort of expectations are regarding that. And so we've got on our website, if you pull up our website, it talks about, there's kind of some of these banners, and these should have some useful information in them, and typically they do. This one's got talks about the second banner here that I'm showing: SDI closures, service updates, and inspection requirements, and talks about that we've got COVID requirements for job sites directed by the state. That contractors or homeowners or contractors are expected to maintain COVID safe job sites, and so for our safety and for everybody's safety, we need before we conduct inspections, we're requiring that contractors send us an affidavit of their COVID compliance. And this, again, is on our website, and this talks about these bulletins from back in June of 2020 talk about what our expectations are for the site, that you have a COVID plan. There's kind of some boilerplate stuff there. And kind of how we expect that folks are going to be maintaining distance, that there's going to be someone on site that's going to maintain social distance around other workers for the inspector specifically, and then again, just kind of talking about our right to refuse to inspect if folks aren't COVID compliant, if they're not exercising COVID compliance. So those are kind of the expectations. In addition to this, we're requiring that the contractor or the homeowner submits an affidavit of COVID compliance, and so we need you to, in a document, affirm to us that you have a COVID site safety plan, it's in place, and that you have, per the governor's directive, someone in charge, a COVID site safety designee, so someone that's in charge of the COVID site safety on the site. This is one thing that we're doing to keep the inspectors safe, and make sure that we're going out to safe job sites, and hopefully to do our part to make sure that the contractors out there are working safely on your homes. So this is on our website. I think that we've been working on some stuff so that the new permits, if you were to apply for a permit today and get it issued in the next week or two, there should be some triggers that would send you to some forms to fill out and submit to us. In lieu of that, you can provide us with a permit number, an address, the contact for the COVID site safety supervisor for the site, and then a statement saying that you have a COVID safety plan in place per the governor's directive, and that would satisfy.
Oh, it looks like we lost
Oh,
Jamie. Oh, there you are. You're
yep,
back.
I'm back. Did you lose me?
Just for a minute. Just for a
Oh,
minute.
all right.
It was real quick.
Yeah, right. Okay. No worries. I'm gonna stop sharing.
Hey, Jamie, while you're doing some of that, maybe we could go ahead and explore some of our new implemented tools, the video inspection program. Maybe you could find that link, pull that
Yeah,
up,
absolutely. Yeah,
and
let me pull that up. Yeah.
that's a newly installed program that we have for folks, and kind of helps and keeps in mind with that same COVID safety. We're trying to limit, if possible, any exposure to our contractors, to our inspection group, to homeowners, and we're offering video inspections if your project qualifies. And Jamie, I think, is going to share here something fairly soon that kind of goes over the the qualified inspections and then how each inspection is to be performed. If anybody has a question about those video inspections, we could definitely answer them now. Heading to the chat box to see if anybody has a question or a hand. I don't see any.
So here we go. SDCI guide to video inspections.
All right.
Like I was mentioning, we can do video inspections. There's some criteria. Let's click on this and see where this takes us. This little hot link here. Video inspections available for some projects. We can do, typically what we're doing with the video inspections is FaceTime
Why don't you
or
scroll
Google
down
Duo.
a little further.
Yeah.
There you go. There we go. Perfect.
Types, boiler, building, you can do basement, point load footings, foundations for decks and small projects, front porch replacements, insulation, exterior dense glass, project impact. So if you're doing a seismic retrofit, there's quite a bit. Conveyance elevators, electrical, there's quite a bit of electrical that's been done, and mechanical. So furnace replacement, if you're getting a furnace looked at, we're doing most all of those virtually. Let's see, there's another guide here.
Does any of our audience have any furnaces that are going to be installed? I'll wait for a hand. An existing furnace that you're going to upgrade. I don't see anybody. All right, go ahead, Jamie.
Yeah, so I'll put a link to this. This is on our, just doing a search. I'm not sure where this is on our actual website, but I just did a search for this. So let's.
Yeah. This should
I'll
be in
put a
our
link.
inspections homepage. And with that being said, and on our inspections homepage, we have references to a lot of different items. I know one which helps out quite a bit is our actual codes that we enforce when we go out to do inspections. You can find our Seattle residential code. You can find our Seattle building code, all from our inspections website. So it looks like we're about an hour and 15 minutes in. I'm going to reintroduce myself. My name is Patrick Bollier. I'm with the City of Seattle. I'm a building inspector. My co-host and this is James Fackler. Jamie, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi there. James Fackler here, City of Seattle building inspector, down in South Lake Union, east side of Queen Anne and the East Lake neighborhood. So if the Space Needle calls for any inspections, I get those now. Also get a look at the Climate Pledge Arena these days, which is exciting.
Hey, Jamie, maybe you could touch on some of your inspections throughout the day. What's your process in the morning?
Oh, well, it's, I will take a look at my calls and see what I've got. Let's see. There's we pull our we've got a program called Acela that manages our database and schedules our inspections and we result our inspections in there and everything else. And so we start by looking at a map of what calls I have for the day in my district. and then just start. I don't. Can I show that? Can I pull up my map? You think I can do that?
I don't.
I
I
mean,
don't
it's all
think it's
public. It's all
sensitive.
public
I don't.
record,
Yeah, I don't think
right?
that's.
You know.
I don't think that's sensitive information. I think we
I
can go
think
ahead
let's
and
here.
show
Let's
a
do this.
map
We're
of
gonna look and see
sometimes
what
our
I got
day.
for. Let's see.
Calls
Oh,
for Monday.
yeah. Calls here. Give me 1 sec. Let me get it
Okay.
queued up here.
Okay. We'll wait for that. If anybody has any questions, you feel free to ask Jamie and I. If you have any comments, concerns, um, we handle everything from complaints, landslides. We come in after a fire that goes through to inspect the building. We go out and do new construction, residential. We do all sorts of inspections during the day. So Jamie was just trying to get his daily report up on what he's going to respond to come Monday for inspections. Some of our process is through the portal of through Acela. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Acela program. You log into Acela through your project portal. You can schedule inspections. You can also schedule inspections by calling the number on the back of the issued permit. All right. Well, looks like we have Jamie
It's got a
back
map. So
there
this is yeah. So
our
we got
map
it.
for the day.
We got our map. So this is great. All these different flags here are different stops, and the different colors represent different inspectors. So having these visual cues and this map view is great. What I gotta say, what I love about inspecting is it combines two of my favorite jobs, which is construction, building. I love construction. I've done it, for 20 some odd years, building houses and remodels and everything else, and I loved it. And my second favorite job was delivering pizzas. And this like figuring out where you're gonna go, deliver a pizza, everybody's happy to see the pizza delivery guy, and the navigating and how are you gonna get somewhere and get the pizza. I drive better than a pizza delivery guy these days, but it's still, it's still kind of an exciting part. Like, oh, where am I gonna go?
Sure.
How am I going to get there? Right. I love this part of the job.
Sometimes
silly, but I do.
the building inspectors aren't that they don't have that same appeal as the pizza delivery man sometimes.
Well, there's certainly not the 30 minutes or less. 30 minutes or less, or it's free, and we can't accept any tips. So that's not,
So,
none of
Jamie,
that.
if I had a question for you, let's just say, I'm a homeowner and I have a permit with the city, and I'm calling in my inspection for the first time, and I really don't know the process. Um, I'm reaching out to you in the morning, but I only have. Can you give me like a timeline to get out to the inspection, or do you not? And then what can you
We
help me
try,
with to get through this inspection?
all right. Well, first thing I'm going to ask you these days is, do you have a COVID safety plan?
I
Do
do.
you have one in place? Okay,
I
great,
do. I do.
fantastic. So now I need you to send me an email with your permit number, your address, contact for your COVID site safety supervisor, and then I need a statement from you saying that you're in compliance with the COVID safety protocols per the governor
Okay.
directive. So
I
basically an
can do that.
affidavit.
I
And then
can do that.
you'll mail that to me, um, or and so that's gonna be our first inspection, and then let's see where you are. Are you this one? You're on First Avenue. You're calling for a setback
I am.
and a foundation. Well, I'm just gonna ask you: did you have a first ground inspection? Was that
Who
something that you
now?
did?
Who would that be with?
Well, it's gonna be with your site inspector.
That's not you.
No, that's not me. So let's here. We'll click on this one.
Okay.
See what they did. This is all public record. So, oh, looks like you did your first ground inspection
Oh.
with Douglas. Oh, that's scheduled for the 4th.
Uh-oh.
I don't see a
A result.
I don't see a result. Oh, it
We'll
looks
get
like
back to that.
yeah. So I'll connect with Douglas on that.
Okay.
No special inspections as of what it says. Rescheduled. So we'll have to dig into that and see what's going on. But that's typically, your first let's just look at something here. I'm going to take you to documents. This is all public record, so I don't think we're sharing any secrets, but I'm going to show you a permit. And what the back of the permit looks like. So we're gonna focus on the back of the permit because
It's a lot of information on the back of the permit, right?
there's a lot of information on the back of the permit. So this is we'll click on this one here. Okay, so this is on the back of the permit. There's this stuff in the middle here that is really kind of a good guideline, right? For sort of the order more or less of what things need to happen when, at least with your inspections, or at least kind of the idea for those inspections. So first it talks about before beginning construction, before first ground disturbance, request an inspection of installed erosion control measures. So we're required through the Clean Water Act to manage the impact of construction activity in our watersheds, right? So this is us meeting an EPA mandate, right? And so this has to do with erosion control, soil leaving construction sites, getting into stormwater systems, and then into streams and other stuff. And so this is our part to save the salmon and the orcas.
And Jamie, I'm going to interrupt just for a second. If anybody has any questions, Jamie Fackler is actually going through his daily routine of inspections and kind of explaining the back of the permit. Go ahead, Jamie.
Okay, so thanks. Yeah, I'm going kind of deep here, so just tug at my coat when I do.
I plan to.
All right. When there's so if you've got special inspections or land use conditions, you're going to need to have a pre-construction conference. So if your site maps as an environmentally critical area and you've got a geotech, you're going to be having special inspections likely. There's going to be a soil bearing capacity, and this is special inspection by a geotech. This is again if there's special inspections if you're in one of Seattle's hillsides or soft soil spot like Greenwood.
South Park.
Greenwood's got a peat bog up there, so there's some spots that in the city that aren't the best to be building houses, but we find ways to make it happen,
Yes.
so with soil engineering and other stuff. And so that's where these special inspections happen, is when we can't meet the code prescriptively. There's going to be an engineered solution to resolve any,
such as like pin piles or a mat slab foundation.
Like if you're in
okay.
like South Park or Georgetown and you've got soils that are prone to liquefaction, which would be
if we had to do those, that would require a pre-con, right?
That's going to require pre-con. That's going to require special inspections with a geotechnical engineer and a special inspection test lab. Typically.
Okay. And then, Jamie, do you sign off on the back of the permit, or is
we do not do that. It's really interesting. I mean, they're the old school used to have a permit card and you'd sign it off, and seems like if but we don't do that. We record all our information back into this Acela database.
And folks can find that information out, right? They can.
Right. Yeah. So I would
get
just
to
click
that.
on. So this is a specific inspection, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to be, I'd go in here and result, the status. If I went out and did the inspection, I'd give them for a foundation or setback, I'm going to pass it or fail it typically. So there may be a partial pass if I was looking for something else, right?
If you partial pass that, what would be the reason behind that? That comes up a lot.
Yeah, the partial pass, like a setback probably isn't a good one because that's typically a pass or fail.
Sure.
Let's see here. Let's go to their other one. A foundation is a great example of that, right?
Okay.
Typically the foundations are poured several times. Frequently there may be 3 foundation pours in a house, right? So from the footings to the stem wall, those will be 2 different pours, and then sometimes there would be a concrete slab with maybe a thickened footing where there's some additional bearing from an interior staircase that's coming down, or a bearing wall that's adjacent to a staircase. and that would need a foundation inspection. Or maybe there's some site walls that are going to go in later on. And so, a partial pass means that you've been given approval to proceed with more work, and that the inspection is left open because there may be additional inspections required under that. But it doesn't mean that it's necessarily that it's a failed inspection or that hasn't been satisfied.
Okay.
So then I'm let's go back to what I'm doing for the day, because we're getting
in the weeds.
So I'm gonna be looking at all my calls, and see, I'm gonna make a determination about where I'm going, what the inspections are. I've got an idea. Typically we go to a lot of these, some of these something like I don't have anything called in for the arena, but this one 700 extra. This is a phase. This is a permit. This is a phase permit. So this is a big office commercial, building.
So your day might consist of residential inspections. It might be commercial inspections, and there might even be some mechanical, right?
Yep. Let's see if you got. Are you working Monday, Pat? Let's see what's on your. Let's see if
I am not on Monday. I'm off.
Oh, you're not working. Oh. I can look into the future.
Yes, you can. I think
so
I have
you can see into the future.
I think I have pre-cons lined up.
Oh, do you? Oh, yeah. Look at
yes,
that.
I do.
Oh, you got a pre-con over there. One over there. Yeah, I got someone already called in for Tuesday for me, looking for their insulation.
So it looks like our only participant left is Terry. Terry, your one-on-one chat with building inspectors from the city of Seattle. Do you have anything? Well, we did get some thank yous from some of the participants that were in earlier. I'm glad to see that this was helpful to folks. That's what we're here for. So Jamie, when you go out to do a video inspection, if you were going out and you saw something that you couldn't inspect over video, what would be the process moving forward?
Well, we'd want to schedule a site visit. So depending on what my schedule is, I would, if I could, I'd try to accommodate it that day, right? Ideally, I'd try to get my video inspections done first thing, or kind of depending. And if I need to swing by the site because I've got to see something, I'm gonna try to do that. We try our darndest to get all our inspections done every day, regardless, right? And so I'm gonna do my best effort to get out there that day to look at it. We may need to reschedule, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna try our best, but if we can't get there that day, we're gonna want to reschedule. So I would go ahead and either try to reschedule or ask them to reschedule for a different day that works for them. So, but if you called it in that day, we're going to do our best to get there and to accommodate. Yeah.
Well, so again, I'm Patrick with the City of Seattle, building inspector. I'm here with James Fackler, also a building inspector with the City of Seattle. Looks like we got about a half hour left. Any questions from the participants? Otherwise, I can continue to harass Jamie.
I'm the one that should be asking this question. Hey, hey, Pat, you think I need to get a permit if I'm just going to replace my kitchen cabinets?
No.
Okay.
No, do not.
Do not, yeah.
Yeah, no. We have nothing to inspect, right?
Right, no, it's not.
We even though it doesn't meet, you're going to spend over $6,000, I'm assuming, but it still won't meet. It still doesn't meet any inspection requirements. Try to find the 6,000 and under budget, right?
Right. Well, that's we're talking about We're
What's
looking at
so?
the
Do you
kitchen.
have a remodel that's coming up?
Oh yeah, well the oven went kapooey,
Mm,
so we gotta
yeah.
redo some stuff in the kitchen. I've been really avoiding it for a few years. I really wanted to
Hmm.
just
I
put
have
some
a master
replace.
bathroom. I have a master bathroom remodel scheduled in April.
Oh jeez.
Can you believe I schedule my own remodels?
Well, I think that's the way to do it. I think that's what you got to do. You got to, I mean, like set some clear expectations about when you're going to do it, and
Yes,
that's smart.
I
That's
have
very smart.
I have a tough homeowner.
I bet. So what are you going to do? Are you going to go shower and change
Yeah,
new tile, or what do you,
everything is
everything?
stripped down and out. It's all the way down to the flooring, and then we're gonna put in-floor heat, one of those in-floor heat mats in.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Because we are getting older and we want our feet to be nice and warm when we
Right,
get up
right.
in the morning and take a shower.
Which one are you going to go with? Are you going to go with the one that you run the cable yourself? Or are you going to go with the one that's already the pre-wired mats? Or what are they doing these days?
I'm gonna do the pre-wired mats.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. They connect pretty easily. So yeah, I'm gonna do those.
You're going to do a soaking tub?
Yeah, we're gonna do or we have a jetted tub right now and we're
Okay.
taking it out
Well, there you
and
go.
we're putting in a soaking tub, one of those old-fashioned, you know,
Clawfoot.
yep,
Clawfoot one? Oh,
clawfoot
nice.
style
Nice.
tub. Yeah, we're trying to keep our country western theme, if you will.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah. Well, the clawfoots are really nice for soaking in. It's funny. The last house that which was our first house that we bought, it had a tub and no shower,
Mm-hmm.
and we lived like that for a long time. It was just like, oh, just take baths, It's like, but it was great. It's like working in the field. You come
Yeah.
home, you're like sore. You just like sit in the tub, maybe crack a beer.
By the way, remember we're still recording, Jamie.
Oh, I know. It's just
Okay.
like,
So I see we still have one participant. Terry, if you're there and you have a question, feel free to answer or ask it. Both Jamie and I are here to help. Maybe you're not listening in. You're just logged in, but if you have anything you are doing or want to try and build, two building inspectors that are here to help.
yeah. Should we do a little unboxing? So this is what's on my.
What is that?
It's a.
Oh yes.
I've been sitting on some undermount drawer slides for a while, and I've got to build some boxes. So I was like, oh, I better get the jig.
Yeah.
So you can see it comes with the.
Oh, those are those are the ones I got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are the nice ones because
Yep.
they're self-closing.
The soft closing drawers.
Self-closing drawers.
What's the name of them again? The Bloom. Yes.
Bloom,
Yeah.
tandem or whatever.
Yeah.
So you go,
That orange snap underneath that
Yeah,
takes it on, and you
yeah.
can adjust. You can adjust them too. You can
Very much so. Yeah. Right. So they've got. There's a little
tabs at the bottom. Yeah.
tabs at the bottom, and like these where that drills in right there. There's a little piece on the back of that slide, so you can kind of really adjust stuff. So
Yeah.
it's real critical that you get this all lined up right. So, so
Those
this little
are great.
kit. Little kit comes with a wrench and a couple drill bits and some stop collars.
Nice.
So you can see here.
Hey Jamie, where's a good place I can find cheaper 2x6s?
Huh. I don't know. With lumber these days, like the lumber prices. I was at the Home Depot and I was like, you got to be kidding me! Like $40 a sheet for
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 OSB.
OSB.
I know.
Oh, it's
I think
painful. Really
I think
painful.
a 10-foot 2x6 is like 13 something right now, and I have to put in. I'm doing a wood fence all the way across the front of my property, and it's what was it? How many? I'm putting in close to 600
Oh God.
boards.
I mean, it's not even like you can. It's not even like you could drive to Canada and
I
get some
know.
lumber, bring it across for your personal use like you used to be able to. Well, growing up in Bellingham, you're
Right.
you
Take
know,
advantage of it.
take advantage of it. That's yeah. Supposedly they dropped the tariffs
Hmm.
or they lowered them, but they didn't fully drop them. But it's
Mm,
the it doesn't the wildfires don't help, and the folks boarding up their windows hasn't
right.
helped with plywood prices. It's been like
Yeah, that
it's like
part of it, and
there's
then
it's like there's a hurricane in the
right.
entirety of the United States.
Well, that, and
Is
then they
what's
didn't, some of the lumber mills stopped producing. I
right.
heard too, and so that is the shortages, that supply and demand coming into effect again.
Yeah, yeah. It's too bad.
Yeah,
Too bad the prices are so high. I mean, I hope that it settles down, and then everybody's doing home projects because they're at home right
right,
now. So,
right. It's convenient how that worked out, right?
right, yeah. Well, it's made me feel good about holding on to all my building materials that I've had over the year.
Right, right.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, what's your plan for the rest of the weekend?
I've got a cabinet I've got to build to fit in where the old oven went, and then we might go
You worried.
snowboarding tomorrow.
Oh
What's that?
yeah, you worried me. You had me worried.
What?
Because all of a sudden here I am, I'm starting this thing and you weren't here this morning.
Oh, did I? Oh, was I supposed to be on earlier for some reason?
Yes.
What time?
You were supposed to be on like 10 minutes ahead of schedule.
Oh, yeah. No, sorry about that. I was like, I was driving north because I had to go pick up some other stuff, and I was like, oh man, can
I
I
was
do
like,
this on my
oh no.
phone? Oh, I probably can't. Oh, I got to turn around. Oh crap.
Well, it's funny. Actually, you probably could do it from your phone. I was what was it? Dean, remember Dean Griswold and Amy?
Oh yeah.
They had that. Hey, would anybody come in and help us do a little preview of what we're doing? So I joined in. Well, gosh, you could do a ton of things with your phone. I was
Yeah.
surprised. I mean,
Yeah.
it was pretty impressive.
Yeah. No, this
But
WebEx stuff. I think that it would be, this home fair is great and everything, but it would be great if we could have some, like folks just doing a virtual ASC office time,
mm,
you know,
mm-hmm,
right? Answer
mm-hmm.
some real time questions for folks,
Oh, right, right. Well, we
I
do
mean, this
that.
is,
We still do the SCI inspections, which is similar to that.
yeah,
We were stuck on some of that stuff that once, and we usually are pretty responsive, and because it comes into like the permit specialists, and they immediately send it over to that SCI inspections email list, and then
oh, okay, okay.
we're pretty good at answering them.
So that's ASC stuff coming into you guys
Yes,
then?
that too. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah.
Now, what's the scheduling special or scheduling pre-cons? Is that with how's that happening these days? Is it
That's
still over
still
the phone, old
yeah, still
school?
over the phone, and then but from there they send out a email to the four of us, and then we pick the ones that apply to our district.
Okay.
Yeah, which it's pretty good, but every once in a while, Jim gets left off the list.
No.
And then all of a sudden you'll get second request come in for the pre-con in Jim's area, and Tim will make a comment, Jim, what are you doing? And Tim will go, and Jim will have to respond with, hey, I wasn't even on the first request.
Right?
So there are a couple times where it passes by and oops, sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, right now we're about probably 3 days out at most scheduled
Okay.
pre-cons, so
That's not
not
so
too
bad.
bad.
And are you guys
No.
still seeing lots of stuff
Busy?
happening?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a lull. Every once in a while, there'll be this lull, and then all of a sudden it'll explode. And I don't know
Yeah.
if that has to do with our support staff taking them in, and just not dispersing them quickly enough, and they just do collection plate of them almost.
Does there anything correspond with permits being issued, like permit dates or anything, or issue dates?
No, no. I mean, the ones that they're sending out are all fairly new issued permits, but it's just the way that they send it out to us, it's just like in big chunks.
Right.
All of a sudden there'll be 10 in one afternoon, and you're like, I can't all call in at that one time.
Right. Right.
But no, there's a lot of multifamily construction permits that have been issued lately. Jim's, that north area has been slammed. Like Dave Canta's area off Martin Luther King and Rainier
So much
Ave,
work happening down there.
slammed
Still.
down there. It's just amazing how many Woody walk-ups are going up.
Yeah. Well, there's the whole the opportunity zones. Are you familiar with that?
Oh, no. Is that, I mean, the affordable housing, is that similar or?
Different thing.
Different?
Invest in opportunity zones.
Oh,
Opportunity zones.
because I know,
Yeah,
I mean,
opportunity zones incentive to invest in lower income areas. Which tracts in Washington State are designated opportunity zones?
I want an opportunity zone. I'm looking for acreage in eastern Washington, a lot of it.
Yeah. So, well, I thought there was some in Seattle. I thought there was some opportunity zone in Seattle.
Well, I mean, you see a lot of the affordable housing sites, like
Yeah.
Lehigh. What's the other one? There's a lot of pre-cons that we're doing right now for affordable housing.
Yeah.
But you look at some of the buildings, and the square footage for that affordable housing like unit it's ginormous. I mean, you'd still think the rent would be extremely high.
Yeah.
But they're still considering, I guess, affordable housing.
Yeah. Okay, so here we go. These are opportunity zones in Southeast. So like that Rainier is, that's an opportunity zone. So this Southeast Seattle represents an opportunity zone.
Opportunity zone. Mm-hmm.
So that's a benefit of, capital gains.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's capital gains benefits. There's no, I think there's no capital gains. I mean, so there, it's ways to try to spur. It's interesting, the big rezone, right?
Well, then how does that work with, like, say the affordable housing, where the city of Seattle basically is they're in the investment banker, if you will, for these affordable housing projects. You know what I mean?
Well, that's going to be different than the
In the
opportunity zones, right? So that's probably going to have to do with Seattle Housing Authority or something like that.
Yeah. But they still would get their money basically from the city or the Seattle Housing Authority, but they're getting some sort of tax benefit because they're building inside that opportunity zone as well.
Right. So I think the opportunity zone is gets you benefits on capital gains. Right. So that's separate. So that's going to be the opportunity zone. It's going to be something that's set up under the auspice of capital gains taxes, which is going to be federal.
Right. So do you fit into that? Your old place?
No, that's not. So that's not. But it'd be interesting. What what if these opportunity zones are going to spur development, right? Like that rezone in the latest rezone put some stuff around the Rainier Beach Light Rail Station
Mhm.
as high rise. So like 200 feet, right? Height
Really?
limits, right there.
Wow.
Right by the light rail station.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it's interesting. That's you know and that's in an opportunity zone. So that
Yeah.
would, I think, the intents to
Spur an
try to
investor to get there.
spurs
Yeah. Yeah.
spur some investment along. So,
Hmm.
um, but you can see there's stuff out on the coast that's opportunity zones.
Wow.
So here we go. Yeah, this is HUD's opportunity zones.
Anything in Grays Harbor County?
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
Like
yeah.
out there on the coast. See all
Yep.
that? What's this over here outside Everett? That's that's like Snohomish County. Lots
Yeah.
of eastern Snohomish County.
Wow.
Interesting. A lot of that is like wilderness. Like that's like Glacier Peaks right there. So that's all
Right.
wilderness. But like Darrington stuff. You can see there's some stuff like outside Mount Vernon. So it's probably like concrete. Oh, Lummi, the Indian reservation up in Bellingham.
Hmm.
Everett. Everybody's kind of got a little. It looks like there's
Yeah.
some in Olympia, outside Centralia. Look at all this.
Yeah.
So the there's the yeah, it's interesting that there's reduced capital gains.
Right.
Okanagan up by the Colville.
That's kind of where we're looking for property. You can find, 100 acres or so that's still not necessarily affordable, but
Yeah,
worthwhile to invest in. And not necessarily an investment, but for us, it's just get away
right.
and do what we want to do.
Yeah. So is this where's Highway 20 come through? Cascade Loop. So this is outside that twist
Hmm.
stuff right over there, you know,
Hmm.
opportunity zones. But that's, so
How did you find out about that? Was that?
about the opportunity zones?
Yeah, yeah. I've never even heard of it.
Well, there was talk about some of the builders out here on the coast, like Seabrook and other stuff, were really
Hmm.
pushing this whole opportunity zone thing,
Hmm.
right? And so they were touting. I was like, oh, opportunity zones. Oh, what are these? Oh, what's the
Huh.
it's just interesting. It's like what are the levers that government's got to spur
Right.
development, right, in certain areas, right? Which is like,
Hmm.
here you can, so
I
I
need to
mean,
look into this.
is this dryland wheat farming here, right
Pretty
here?
much, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah. So you can see like, more dryland wheat. Okay.
Hmm.
Opportunity zone.
All that, yeah.
Uh,
All right. Well, it looks like we got 11 minutes left.
11 minutes,
Still one participant, Terry. If you have any questions, feel free to ask Jamie Fackler or myself. We're here to help you out if needed. You see the opportunity zones. Um,
Like here we go down by McCall. This is really nice. Cascade Lake and everything down there.
yeah.
That's or Cascade Reservoir. We went and saw the solar eclipse down there.
Where are you
That's
going to
really
go skiing?
beautiful.
Are you going up
Well, I
Sequoia
don't
Pass or?
know. I got this whole fair is kind of throwing a wrench in my day, and I if I don't get that cabinet in, it's not smart for me to go. So, and then our friends that we were going to go with, they're his wife's out of town, so he's got the kid and the dogs. So
Yeah.
he's so then it's so I don't think the kid wants to go with just me. I think he's kind of wants to be a
Get his
homebody
friends
these
there.
days. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we were going to go to Snoqualmie. So
Hmm.
see if that's an opportunity zone. No,
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 not
definitely not.
quite. Not quite.
What is that small little space in Ellensburg? It's got a little small section in the east or west side of Ellensburg. It looks like there's a small opportunity zone in there.
Yeah.
So that's even, huh?
On the highway. What is
Right,
this?
right off the I-90.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
Hmm.
where they want to see the development,
Yep.
between Thorpe,
Yep.
all the way towards Thorpe, Highway 97, Old Highway 10. Start to, yeah, get into, get
Well,
into Eastern Washington,
what did you
where the
think of
power's
our
cheap.
what did you think of our home fair session, Jamie? You think we did okay?
I think we did okay. Again, I think it would be good to present something.
Well, I mean,
I
what
think
we finally we were kind of moving in that direction though with, hey, let's show them the tips, let's go through the
right, totally,
virtuals. And
yeah,
so had we had that pulled up, I didn't read Moon's original email that she sent. She sent out that PowerPoint that I showed on the first page. Well, I didn't even
yeah,
know that she sent that out. Otherwise, I would
oh
have
yeah,
added that crap or that
oh
stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was
So
oops.
yeah.
But we're busy,
Oh, I
Gosh.
know. So busy right now. It's really.
So,
I hope they can. Yeah.
yeah, it should be interesting in the next few months.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I think if we added to that little PowerPoint, had I known that, I would have put that virtual stuff in there. We could have put the tip in there. We could have quickly just gone through all of those. That would have been good.
Yeah.
So, oh well.
Oh, Grant County Airport. Okay. Yeah, we drove through here. We drove through when we went to go get the pup. We drove this drove the Grand Coulee
Mm,
right through there. I don't
hmm.
know that I've done. I mean, I've done that when I was a kid, I think, but it's been forever. It was stunning. This
That Banks Lake area,
Banks Lake. Yeah.
yeah, it is beautiful. That's where we go basically every year.
Yeah,
That
because
seems.
I got relatives that live down here.
Mm. Oh, really?
Yeah, right there, Warden.
Yeah, Warden.
Yeah, there's. I'll show you. So there is the.
Oh, wow. That's a small little town, isn't it?
Oh, it's tiny. Right. So this is. I think he's right up here, hill or something, right at the top of the hill,
Mm,
something like that. The school's like right here, I think, and
mhm.
that's hillside. I don't know. It's
Well, I met with what was it? Friday? No, Thursday morning. Met with a City of Tequila inspector.
oh, really?
Yeah, we've got a shared jurisdiction Prologis building going in.
Oh, that's their jurisdiction.
Yeah, there's three of them down there.
How does
And
that? I
so
was wondering about that. How does that work down there?
so it's an interesting, they have an MOU between City of Seattle and City of Tequila. And essentially, the the code restrictions are it's based off of whichever code is more stringent. That's the code that takes precedence. And then there's final phase, there's final details like how the building is to be final. And so I met down there with them just to go over special inspections, from their side and our
Oh, because this
side.
cuts right through the pro. The oh, look at that! I was like, what's going on
Yes,
here?
yes, it's crazy.
Right through.
Yeah.
Oh, not so.
And so it's yeah, there's going to be one is right. This is the first. There's two more scheduled. One's like 400,000 square feet or something like that. So it was an interesting meet and greet with them, and what
Look at
they.
this crazy property line.
I know. It
Or,
just jumps in and out of the airport.
oh, but doop doop doop.
Hey, I think there's a building that they're doing that I don't think is in the city of Seattle, but man, it sure seems like it is. You see that little jog? Like
Here?
see yeah, right in through here. I think there's like so if you scroll to the right, keep going right off of airport. So like right in there, there's a building going in where your hand right in that area right there.
Oh, modern aviation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it looks like it's in the city of Seattle limits because of that weird jog. And it's literally right where your cursor was.
yeah. There's
Let's see. It might be where that parking
I think
lot
it's
was.
further up this way. I
It
think
might
that's where it
be.
is.
It might be.
I think it's further up this because you can see this is your that's your oh, is that my oh that's my oh look, we got a warthog and a fighter.
Fighter.
Right, but well, maybe those are just jets. Private jets. Those are funny looking private jets. Are those
Yeah, they are.
Gulfstreams? That one doesn't. It's definitely a fighter.
So we're down to our last 4 minutes. We have one participant. Terry, if you have a question, we have about 4 minutes to answer it. Patrick with the City of Seattle, this is Jamie Fackler. We're both building inspectors, and we will be glad to answer any questions you have. You know, Terry's been quite the participant. She's quiet.
Hung in there. Hung in there for all of it.
She's definitely hung in through our entire process here. Trying to see where you're at as far as, but it makes you wonder, as I'm pretty sure there's no building permit for it in the City of Seattle. I'm pretty sure it's in the county, but man, the way that property line jogs, it would seem like it would need a city permit.
So this is the last little bit. This is the last little road before Airport Way continues on. So there's really nothing right here. Like if you look at this satellite view, this is you've got this. This is that Omni Air International or whatever these guys run from Tulsa to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is in. This is out. That is
Which is in? Which is in? To the left
Seattle.
is in? Okay.
Yeah. If we switch here, boom, that's Tukwila. This is Seattle. So I think all that modern aviation stuff is
Tukwila.
Is Tukwila. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's funny. It's funny. I was driving down Friday. I'm like, because this is a lot of times my way home, right, and sometimes my way in, depending on what traffic is. I'm like, what is the property? What is the city line here? Where is it? It's such a weird. Such a weird thing, the way that it jogs around. Like even here.
Up here, yeah.
Like look at this, some county.
Yeah.
County that's county.
Right. And then it just follows. Wow. Yeah, it makes no sense at all.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, we've got a participant. It looks like Rose. If you have any questions, we've got a couple minutes to answer anything you might have. I'm Patrick Boley with the City of Seattle. This is Jamie Fackler with the City of Seattle. We're both building inspectors. You could type it up in the chat, or you can go ahead and we can unmute you and you can ask your question.
Hi there. I'm so sorry to join you late, but I was trying to dial into the other two offerings of the SDCI meetings today, and all have been really, really informative. So all I wanted to, well, there's a lot that I need to know, but for building inspections, I did ask the question, but I'm kind of, I don't know. Let me just ask. We're planning on remodeling. Probably either we're going to tear down a house completely or remodel it and add an addition. So in that case, I know we have to go through the permitting process and that kind of thing. But do we just deal with inspections after the fact, or do you guys come out beforehand and check it out first?
We don't do a pre-site visit. Sometimes our site inspectors will do a pre-app site visit, but the building inspector won't come out until once your site has been issued a permit. Okay, and is there a different person to check out, like after we take down cabinets and stuff? Because that really caught me by surprise. I was in, I don't know, one of the other, I can't remember, the code compliance, I think. Seminar, and I asked about when do we have to call for, or when do we have to get a permit? And
And I mean, and it was basically they said at the beginning. And so,
Well, yeah, you'd want to get your permit as soon as you know what you're trying to accomplish. If you know you're remodeling your kitchen and you're going to be doing work that requires a permit, before you start, it would be good to get it. There would be some time where you might have some pre like investigation, just with you and your architect or with you and the contractor to determine whether or not you're gonna find some problem areas, or just a little investigation if you will before you start construction, and that's well and fine. But before you start your work on the actual project that you plan to do, it would be really good to get a construction permit.
well, do those expire?
They
I mean,
do, yeah. I think it's 18 months. Isn't that right, Jamie?
Yes. Yep.
did you
That's
say 18 years?
18
18
months.
months.
Oh, 18 months.
Yeah.
We've seen a few go 18 years, but that's lots of renewals. And
Yes,
I think that's a lot of
yes.
like blood, sweat, and tears. If it's 18 years, it's painful. So
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well,
So,
okay, so this is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, so was that your question, or did you have another one, or?
Well, I'm kind of like surprised and thinking that I'm not really understanding the process, because when they said that we have to get permits at the beginning, does that mean that before we take down our cabinets, you guys are going to come out and look at
No,
it? And,
no,
before we,
no. If you, like I
well,
said, if
if you're just doing a kitchen remodel and you're not, you know, you may not need a permit, right? So there's,
right.
I'll pull up when permits are required. I'll pull that up.
Okay. Yeah, because
okay.
a lot of times, whether the scope, we do have some instances where if the permit, reaches over 6,000, we require a permit. But sometimes there's just nothing for the city to inspect if you're just taking out cabinets and replacing them, or doing a kitchen remodel where you're replacing surfaces, cabinets, and upgrading your fixtures. There's nothing that we can look at, so we're not going to require a permit for you to upgrade your kitchen if it's nothing structural. But it looks like Jamie's pulling up some of those requirements for a building permit.
When I need it. Okay.
So
Okay,
this is so you've got like work exempt from a permit, minor repairs or alterations if the value is less than $6,000. Minor work including the following, provided no changes are made to the building envelope. So patio, concrete slabs on grade, painting or cleaning a building, repointing a chimney, installing kitchen cabinets,
There you
paneling or
go.
other surface finishes over existing ceiling or wall systems.
So would your remodel just be upgrading the cabinets, or is there more to it?
no, actually, there is more to it. There's going to be
Okay.
we want to actually, when all is said and done, if we go ahead with the remodel, we're going to take it down to the beams.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, I was wondering, do we have to apply for a permit for the cabinets, another permit for the electrical, another permit for the plumbing?
So yeah,
change the flooring?
each entity would require a permit. So if you're doing electrical work, you would need an electrical permit. If you're doing plumbing, you would need a King County plumbing permit. And then it sounds like if you're doing more than just the kitchen cabinet upgrade, you'd need either a STFI building permit or something to that effect.
And is that all? Is King County permitting through SDCI? That's
It's
different, right?
No, that's public health. So that's King County Public Health.
Oh,
Yeah. So you'd have a plumbing
wow.
inspector come out and inspect that part of it.
And your
Okay.
plumbers are
More-
going to be a plumber will be
Yeah.
familiar with those requirements. Do you
Yeah.
have a contractor lined
I
up
don't know
already?
what to do.
Do you have an
No, we're
architect?
trying. We have. Well, yes, we're about ready to sign up with one architect because we've been interviewing different ones,
Yep.
and we do know that we have to get like a geotech, and definitely a surveyor, maybe a structural engineer. But it all depends if we're going to tear down the house completely, or if we're going to just get the foundation fixed maybe and build back up. So I don't know. Well, I shouldn't say build back. If we get the foundation fixed, we're going to just do a basic a remodel as much as we can
Hmm.
inside the house.
So you
but we're
map
also
as
taking
a
lot
you
of
map as an
additions, so-
you map as an ECA then, environmentally critical area, a steep slope.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
an
So it's going to be
ECA one.
Yep. So you're going to need if you're mapping there, I don't know if code compliance touched on it, but you've got specific requirements. You've got to now meet the, you've got to. It's important that you're getting all your permits for everything as needed. If you're doing anything outside the house, you'll need either a geotech involved and ECA. So you want to make sure you've got all your permitting lined up and in order if you're in an ECA. So.
Wow. Okay. And the architect would know which permits we need, obviously.
Yep, an architect should be very familiar with our requirements. Yep. So, and that's something those would be good questions to ask them, right? Is like, what's your familiarity with the jurisdiction? How are you with working in Seattle? Are you familiar with the jurisdictional requirements?
Okay.
And if you look at the chat, there's some stuff that we've got in there, some tips that talk about what type of permits are available over the counter. So it's STFI, and you may be able to carve out some of your work as a subject to field inspection and then obtain a separate permit to do some of the other stuff. And there's also a link in there. If you scroll up to the chat, like one of the first links I've got in there is about hiring a contractor. So it's a labor and industries link that will give you some good tips on what to look for when hiring a contractor and how to look up that contractor just to protect yourself. So take a look at the chat, and there's some good info in there.
In the chat. Okay.
Yeah. There's some three links that would probably be applicable to your project in there. So.
And all of these links are available on the SDCI website, the inspections website as well.
Okay. There's nothing shown in the chat. So
scroll up.
Here I will. Is it not of it? You may not. It may have dropped out. So
yeah, well, I know I dialed in really late because I went to the other two. Maybe if you have a recording, then I'll look for it.
We do have a recording. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Here we go.
I do have one more question.
Okay.
This house that I'm speaking of, it's on a street. It's a corner lot, but it's on one of the streets is has a sidewalk and then a strip of grass with trees in it, and then the street. And then what happened is the city planted these beautiful trees in the green strip, whatever, between the sidewalk and the street, not on our property, right? And now the roots from the trees are going through the sidewalk to the point where it's breaking up the sidewalk, and it's close to a fire hydrant. So, I mean, what do I do in that instance? Because when I asked about it at the last session, they said that it's our responsibility, but those are not our trees.
Yeah, you're correct. Those are going to be, if there's street trees, they're going to be SDOT's or depending city parks trees, right? So and if it's their trees that are causing the damage, then it's likely going to be on them to fix that. And so I've seen in some neighborhoods where they've sidewalks have been broken up. We've seen like water meters damaged by, or water mains damaged by street trees, and seen SDOT come in and repair that stuff. So if it's their trees, if they're street trees, then and they're causing damage because at some point SDOT made some poor choices in trees to plant, then that's going to be their responsibility. If it's your tree, if it's a tree that isn't under the jurisdiction of SDOT, that was not planted through their street tree program or not owned by them, and there's some of those in the city, then it's going to be your responsibility, the damage caused by that tree. The sidewalk is your responsibility to maintain, So you get into this, it's kind of a conundrum. So, it's certainly worth talking to SDOT's arborist. Would be my take. They've got an arborist on staff at SDOT, and they should be more than familiar with the tree requirements and that. So
do they have a Q&A site like you guys do? I have to.
I imagine so. I haven't spent any time on their website in a long time.
Okay, so, but that's not you guys then. It's
a different department. Yep.
Yeah, not us.
not you.
We're inside the building footprint, so inside the property line. That's going to be us.
Yeah. So it sounds like if you've got an architect, they should be able to, they should be able to have a good plan, to get you through permitting and everything else. So
Okay. Okay.
hey,
Everybody-
do you have any other questions? We've run a bit over, and I've got to step out. I've got some childcare responsibilities right now. So
no problem. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
All right.
all right, thank you.
All righty.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everybody,
Hey,
for
thanks,
showing
Pat.
up.
Pat.
Thank you,
Yep.
Jamie.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Rose. Nice work, Pat.
Nice work, Jamie.
All right.
All right, I'm going to save this and get out of here. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see you.
All right.
Take care. We'll see you on
Yep.
Tuesday. Have a nice
Yep.
weekend.
Yeah, you
Yep.
too. All right.
Bye.
Bye.